It's a super Saturday. Welcome to your weekly setup social, Sonder family. Great to see you. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm dialing in from the warm and sunny Dallas, Texas. I think it's going to be a pretty rainy week, and I'm a little anxious because we are having a new roof put on. We took a beating from hail about a month ago. And so the roof's supposed to come during like the rainiest week of the spring. But that's okay. It's happening. We're good. It's so good to see you. You have the former Team Texas on the call tonight. My co-facilitator, who will be hanging out in the chat, she's already told y'all welcome, is the fabulous Katie Gideon, coming to us from Edinburgh, Scotland. It's middle of the night for her, so we're going to send her to bed as soon as we are finished here. Oh, you had a gusty storm, Mara. I saw some stuff in the chat. Some of you have some fun things happening this week. We've got Nathania's mom is in the hospital. I hate to hear that, Nathania. I know the journey that you have been on that you've shared with us, and she's been pretty healthy for a little bit. So I hope this is a quick little visit for that. We've got Girl Scouts going to Hurricane Harbor. Oh, I remember Girl Scouts. That's so cool. If you have anything else coming up that you just want to like, yay, this is what's happening this week, drop that in the chat. You'll see when we do our Rosebud Thorn. I have my grandkids for most of the week this week. My son and his wife are taking a little trip, and whenever I have them for like an extended period of time, we call it Camp Grand Happy. So I've got my little grands this week. I'm looking forward to that. That's what my week looks like. Make sure that your chat is set to everyone so that we can share with one another. That's how we communicate. That's how we say, hey, here's what I do in this space. Oh yeah, Elena, yeah, Pentecost Sunday is next week. Last year I did the children's message for Pentecost Sunday, and I don't have to do that this year. Anyway, yes, and you can take that name, Camp Grand Happy, if you have grandkids. That's what we call our time together. So, again, just remind you to make sure your chat is set to everybody. I do want to ask, is there anybody here joining us for the very first time? Please drop a me in the chat because we do want to give you a big O welcome. I'm seeing so many familiar names from our Sonder family. And yeah, like Carla says, welcome to the new folks. You have found your people. If you come to these, you're going to recognize the names. You're going to know each other's stories, that connection. We love it. We love it. We love this accountability hour for ourselves too. And this hour goes super fast too, right? It's probably, I talk too much. Love this quote: in the light of purpose. You're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry, don't worry, and be sure to smell the flowers along the way. That's a really great mindset for this beautiful theme that we're digging into. And I've already shared how I've loved our past like 4 months, just seem to like we're little gateways to the next theme, to the next theme, to the next thing. And I love this idea of purpose. Speaking of purpose, if you're struggling at any time, oh, fun. Maggie had Pride today. Woo! And it's hot here. It's always so hot for Pride Parade in Dallas. I think my churches, I think we participate and we'll be doing, I think it's the second weekend, or like next weekend. Okay. So, the personalized life coach, right? If you feel stuck, if you're not sure about purpose, this is just a little shout out. You might want to check this out. Meha did 4 webinars this week talking about the different areas of your life where this personal life coach can work for you. You can access those on the YouTube channel. I did check; they are there. Katie will share all that, in the chat, the link to get there. And then there's the community guidelines. If you've been here, we share these because of the types of spaces we create for one another and for ourselves. So, and Jennifer, thank you for sharing that you use that daily life coaching program daily. I usually check in with Jenny once or twice a week, and then as needed, I'll go jump on that chat. So yeah, look at those community guidelines just so you know that's the kind of direction we're going in with our time together. And then, of course, I have shared this little quote, and it'll be there, for the rest of the month. You are what you believe yourself to be. And that really is all about finding purpose. So, we're going to work on our purpose mind map. If you are joining us for the very first time, the mind map is this bonus prompt that you get for coming to these live weekly socials. It's not in your journal. You get to choose where you do this. And then it's a deeper dig into the purpose or into the theme. This month's theme is purpose. In through different lenses, different questions, different things to consider. Then we'll do the rosebud thorn reflection, and then we'll set up our weekly pages. You may already have your cadence, what you're going to do. I'll have examples to share with you so that maybe you'll be inspired. You are always invited to use your journal just as it is. Use your to-do list for the to-do list, your shopping list for the shopping list. But you are also encouraged to change anything up to where it works the best for you in your life, what you need to organize your life and plan a wonderful week ahead. So, our purpose mind map, I'm going to invite you now to go find that mind map. If you're here for the first week, I'll show you the questions from question one, from week one and from week two. We are on week two. We'll be answering 4 prompts around this idea of purpose. Now, I used page 60, the last notes page in my journal, and I shared with you last week, I took an acrostic poem and I put that my acrostic, I just did one word per letter, kind of framed out the words through my retirement journey. And pop that in the middle of my mind map so that it can inform how I answer and approach prompts. So, a lot of times we have examples and extra things for you to think about. Last week we talked about your 5 things that you would put on a bucket list, and then really digging in what's the why behind those? Why are they important for you to experience? And we dug into the benefits of keeping a bucket list. So I want to encourage you to, let that become part of what you do. But week number 2 is, to me, very straightforward and very personal. So we're just going to take this question as it is, and take some time to be inspired by the things that get evoked in your mind as you think of a time when you felt an overwhelming sense of joy, fulfillment, alignment, or gratitude. Just like when, yeah, one of those yeah moments. And think of it through where you maybe really felt your sense of purpose through that time. And then after you decide where you want to land, I want you to think about what sparked that feeling. Really dig in. Why? Why? The hint, the 5 why activity is where you just keep asking yourself why to get down to those bare bones. And that can certainly, kind of influence where you see your purpose. I was thinking for me, I wrote just about the birth of my daughter. She was number 2, but there was just something about the alignment and how strong and powerful I felt. My first delivery with my son was not pleasant. And we both kind of had some trauma, and when I got to redo that, and have my daughter, and it was just like everything, and it was probably the first time I was so stinking proud of myself and of being a woman and of being mighty and just all those things, and it just did a shift in me. at that point. And so that shift really made me see the purpose in, changing a legacy as a parent. So I'm gonna put on some music for you, give you a little extra minute or two on this one. And, as you're comfortable, share in the chat. I want that chat to be filled with these moments of joy. Enjoy digging in to seeing your purpose through those moments of joy. There are amazing words in the chat. Words like gifts and storytelling and favorite memory and passion. I love when we can have a moment to embrace those kind of memories and then doing it through this lens of like your purpose and you can do y'all remember, I don't know if you're Office fans, I love The Office, but when Jim and Pam got married and they kept doing like a snapshot moment, right? It's like that, like you have that little snapshot of that very moment in time, and it just sparks so much joy, so much pride for you. So thank you for kind of embracing this. You may want to keep working on it. There are so you may add some other ideas, right? You may end up doing a daily reflection or another weekly reflection on other times that you felt proud of yourself or had this sense of joy and fulfillment and alignment with life, right? So keep this little prompt somewhere, tucked away that you could pull out anytime you need a little pick me up. And be proud of where you are. So I want to invite you to turn to page 36 now. We'll take a look at our rosebud thorn reflection for the week. If you're here for the first time, Carla, I love that you're talking about that to-do list because I'm actually going to call it out in a few minutes about how we can use that because this really is that to-do moment, right? Our roses are the things that we're celebrating from the week. What are you proud of? What did you do? What happened that brought you joy? The bud is what are you looking forward to? It can be big, it can be little. But what's coming down the pipe for you? And then what is your thorn? What is that thing that is causing stress or just kind of a feeling of yuckiness? And sometimes you may not even have a reason. You can just be like, it was just a down week. I don't know why, but it was a thorn and I just didn't feel like I was on. And just let's give it power and put it on paper and figure out what we can do to change that and maybe leave that thorn behind or at least reframe how we look at it. I mentioned we are getting a brand new roof from this hailstorm, and so that is a rose because we kept thinking, when they get old, every storm is like, is this going to be the one? And so we're really glad that like insurance is helping us with this, and we didn't have to do it all on our own. But it's also somewhat of a thorn because some other things were found with the house that have to be remedied, and that's not included it's always a thing. So a rose and a thorn is the same thing. And then I mentioned I'm getting excited about Camp Grand Happy. So that's what my bud is. Next week it might be, my rose and my thorn because I'll be exhausted, but it was wonderful. I'm going to put on a little bit of music, and if you are comfortable in sharing with your community anything that, is a thorn or you want us to celebrate together, drop that in the chat, and then we'll get on with our setup. We like to do this weekly rosebud thorn reflection because it really is a moment of embracing the week with gratitude for whatever it brought us. And, just sitting with the feels, whether they're like the happy or if it was an off week, give yourself permission to just sit with it. And maybe we can get the new week set off on a different foot. We always go through seasons, right? So we're excited for those roses and those buds that you're looking forward to, but we also hold a lot of space for one another when we consider the thorns. And you were comfortable sharing some of them, and so just know that your Sonder community gets it. We're here for you, and you're not ever alone when you are sharing those thorns. Now we're gonna get going with that weekly planner, and I want to invite you to, drop your page, drop a picture, drop a portion of a part of your setup in Sonder Club. And honestly, I would love to see some of like last week's pictures, like show us your habit tracker and show us how you used some of these spaces. Like I, might leave a space blank and add as I go along. Would love to see that because that's what we love to share with one another. We're going to be on pages 40 and 41 for this week, and I thought this was a really, really cute little graphic. Wouldn't it be fun if we could just throw a little extra day and call it Sunter Day and get all the things done, and then really have a weekend off, right? Where we can embrace more than 3 hours to ourselves. I have this graphic showing up, or this slide showing up two times in our setup tonight. So I've got it here for like page one. These are some fun national days of coming up this week. So maybe there's something on there that will speak to you. The 13th is National Sewing Machine Day. I love my sewing machine. She's a member of my family. So I'll be sewing on the 13th. I'm making sure to make a note on my calendar. You can see how somebody did a little fun, national day of their on their meal planner. But maybe you need to challenge yourself to something this week. And so there are some suggestions for those challenges. Maybe that'll kind of help boost something that you're working on. So I love that. Now, as I go through these slides, don't worry, you're welcome to grab a screenshot, take a picture. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to access this again on the YouTube channel. And I'll go back through these slides after we show all the examples. And so then while you're working on your page, you can also grab a picture if it's something that speaks to you. I like weekly challenges. I think those are kind of fun, a little more motivating, a little more fun, gamifying. When we gamify, we dump in the good, endorphins for our brain. We're probably going to be a little more successful. This is also a fun way to just frame out the different days of the week. Maybe Tuesday is Tricky Tuesday in your world. So again, just a fun little slide to make your days a little more fun. Oh, Chris is going to get behind celebrating Martini Day, right? That's kind of fun. Here are a couple examples from y'all. I pulled them from like last week's setup, and so or week before. If you shared, thank you. If this belongs to you, let us say thank you in the chat. You can see two of the same pages are set up very differently. Again, that reminder that it's all about putting this in, making it work for you. I really love that the person on the left, maybe you're not using that small little calendar up there. Some of you, I know, use that little calendar and you circle like the days for things and you kind of code with squares and circles and triangles. But this person just slapped a sticker on it so that it's an extra space to be used in the journal. So I love that. Oh, happy birthday, Janine. And then they're going to track three things this week in that habit tracker. Their to-dos instead of a list. It's kind of set up like a little web. And then the one on the right, you can see the three goals have been categorized: mind, body, soul. And then they have set their goal and tied the to-dos directly into that goal. So, again, some suggestions for setting those pages up. So I like to start with how do you want to feel? So let's all take a moment and think about how you want to feel for this upcoming week. Consider what is already on your appointment list. What are your things that you got to do at work, at home, and embrace a feeling for that, and then drop that in the chat. I love this. You are as amazing as a dress with pockets. Maybe that's how you want to feel this week, because we all know that good feeling. I was telling Katie when I shared the slide with her, I said when I got my mother of the bride dress, it had pockets, and I was like, this is like the most perfect dress I've ever worn. Okay, I'm seeing Jennifer says this week's going to be productive, and then Susie says she wants to feel rested, supported. This week instead of feel, it's going to be I want to savor. Yes, you can change that little sentence up. You can savor your accomplishments, be grateful, honor your needs. That is very powerful, hopeful and inspired, peaceful, purposeful, progress and gratitude. I love these. Keep them dropping in because while I'm talking, folks can grab that. Now we're going to take that feeling and we're going to go look at the weekly goals and to dos. And again, some more ideas from y'all. Now, I do want to remind you, you worked hard on setting up your intentions and looking at that stop, start, and continue box on page 8. So I'm going to point you back to that and maybe just eyeball it and see if there's something from those spaces that could inform how your week is going to be set up. And of course, we've always got the outstanding things the past weeks that may be something it's time to put it back in, the to do or the goal for the week. And then we like the idea of the personal challenge for the week. Like I was saying, that one slide that had all those different kinds of challenges, I can go back to that when you set this up. And maybe you'll find yourself doing a fitness challenge or a decluttering challenge or a salad challenge. And then we also appreciate having no goal setting boundaries. What did you want to stop? Is there a way that can show up in this area? And then there's also the idea of just choosing some categories and plugging your goals in for the categories. I always say that's a good cheater for me. When I can't think of something, maybe just, okay, productive, peaceful, and powerful. What would that look like through goals for the week? And so I might, put those 3 words down, plug something in to make that happen. Some great examples from y'all. A lot of mind, body, soul, mind, body, spirit. The one that's kind of lower middle where it says, look at those goals. There's early in the morning or early day goals, midday goals, and evening goals. I love how that one is set up. The one next to it to the left, fun and frog and fierce. And remember that frog is that idea of eating the frog, eating the toad. What is the one thing that's just got to get done? And you may not want to, but it's going to go on this list so that you can be sure you can hold yourself accountable. There's learn, leap, and let go. That upper right one, work, family, self. So great, there we go with intentional. You can do a little tracker like you see the one on the left to hold yourself accountable for checking in with that. Little mini trackers in that goal space, feeling positive, and then breaking that down into mind, body, spirit. There's one with alignment, and that's actually an older slide. But what I love about this is it's kind of a check in with self because see how the blue circle says August intentions. So they're going to go take a look at that intention and inform their goals for the week with that. Their daily habits. What do those habit trackers look like? So I love that being aligned with the things you wanted from the front end of the month. Of course, you can also just repurpose the space. Maybe goals aren't speaking to you. And so here's some great ways. I think I shared that one last week that instead of 3 major goals, it's 3 values that person is embracing for the week. We've got the AM and PM routine in the upper right there. Maybe instead of goals, you're looking, what do I need more of and what do I need less of this week? And then I love the one on the right says, I want to feel a fresh perspective on my past and a renewed hope for my future. And then their goals are divided up by perspective, or just two moments of reminding self, perspective with a little quote, and hope with a little quote. So if you use this space something other than your goals, share that in the chat because you will inspire one another. And then, of course, we've got the to-do list. And so you may use this as a to-do list. And there's a reminder. You can put whatever you want on your to-do list. I put wake up and drink coffee on mine. And then guess who already got 2 things done today? Thought that was a great reminder. Set yourself up for success. Like wake up every day. That's a good goal to have. Here are some examples of taking those goals and then informing the to-dos from those goals, right? Just pulling your to-dos to get those goals checked off for the week. So there's 3 great examples there from y'all. There's the breaking the list down to where it speaks to what you need. So need, want, and hope. So like that kind of need is like the thing I need to do. If you've also got a big old list and there really is some things that have got to happen, use this tool, the Eisenhower Matrix. We always shout out to this. And to plug it in. And I do want to talk about, I saw in Sonder Club this week, someone said, I love the idea of the Eisenhower matrix. However, I don't really see how I can delete that much. I'm in a single person household. And so you can change delete to maybe delay. Maybe it can't go away, but maybe it just really does get pushed on the back burner. And you can also find moments of, perhaps you take that the things that maybe are not going to happen this week, but maybe you can reframe them through a delegating mindset, as like, I'm not going to go into Walmart, I'm going to do my order online, right? So that is a little bit of a delegating, giving it to someone else to do. Or you could swap. Maybe you're good at something, you have a friend who's good at something else, and y'all can swap those chores or those things that need to happen. So there, you can change that grid up to work for you. And then I want to speak to this Zygarnik effect. And this was actually in a daily ritual a couple of months ago. And it's just the idea, she was a Russian scientist, and she realized that our memory retention for finished tasks for all the things we've accomplished is actually very small. And we ultimately end up focusing on all the things that are still left to do, the to-dos that did not get marked off. And so the way you can kind of combat it and really embrace all the things you accomplished are, writing everything down, because the brain tries to trick you that you didn't get that much done. And then have a system for organizing, which you do. You're here, right? You're using this tool. Try to have an end of work shutdown ritual, whether, you work outside the home, inside, what is your ritual? And we work a lot on rituals and routines in our Sonder community. The very last thing is, don't forget to look back at how far you've come. And so that leads us right into page 19 of our journal this month, keeping that to-do list. And so I did the social on this past week, and I said, this could be a lifetime to-do list where you just sit and you sort of do this brain dump of all the things, right? You could fill this out in one sitting, or you could use it as a day-to-day tracker. I am actually using my weekly spread for those to-do moments this month. So I sort of looked at my lifelong to-do list, and when I filled this page out, but I'm using my weekly spread to do a daily reflection on the things that I really did do that maybe weren't on the to-do list, but I want to remember that I got a lot done and celebrate that. So, there's two examples of somebody taking their shopping list as well as their to-do list and swapping it out for a to-do list. I really want to encourage you to think about that because our brain wants to trick us and say you didn't get enough done when actually you did exactly what you were supposed to do that day. And then we're going to drop down and look at the habit and activity tracker. If you're new here, a lot of times folks are like, why do we have these two different trackers? We've got the tracker wheel and then this weekly tracker. Well, that monthly wheel has the things on it that we're sort of striving for on a mostly daily basis, but the weekly one can be changed up depending on what your week is bringing. And I know some of you actually use the weekly habit tracker for kind of your household to-dos, or your work habits and activities, and then like your personal habits and activities are on that daily, but this one can be changed up for what the week is bringing. So you could also keep them sort of separate, or you can have some of the stuff from both trackers, right? Can be the same. A reminder, good old James Clear and our Atomic Habits, he really wants us to focus on keeping our habits easy because then they're more consistent. Like if we set our sights too broad, our chances of not getting to those habits are greater, right? So he says, so easy that you can't say no. And there's like those two examples. You keep it simple. So, for example, instead of walking 10,000 steps, maybe it looks like I put on my walking shoes. Right? That's the habit. And then it leads to the bigger results. Let's look at a couple of slides with some of those ways folks have set it up. I wanted to point out this one on the upper left. It's kind of a new one. They're wanting to do these things 7 times. Their goal is every single day, but they have used like stripes to mark off the different things. So Feed My Soul is that first one. And then she is doing Pray as You Go, daily ritual, and affirmations, and they're color coded. So as that's happening, marking it off in the actual little tracker there. So I thought that was kind of a great way to mark that off. You can see the use of stickers in those bottom two, but also I'm thinking this person, and if this is you, an older example, let me know. I think this was a week to week one, and I believe that maybe there's a vacation happening, because you'll notice on the first one, nothing's tracked from Thursday through Sunday, and then the next one, nothing is tracked from Monday through to Wednesday. So I think that maybe, there was a little vacation. So that's that reminder to give yourself permission to take days off. If it's just not like give yourself that space to do that. And thank you, Janine, for posting in Sonder Club so I could share that. I thought that was a really great idea to kind of track those things with those little stripes. The one up at the upper right, not tracking a certain number, just tracking color coding, circled the days that they wanted. Greens are going to happen on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Um, the meds get taken Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. I have some meds that are every third day or fourth day. I need to go look at my tracker, and I just circled the days for that to happen. So, yep. And then you've seen this one before, but I think it's worth mentioning. The habit and activity for the week, that tracker is dedicated to the PM system, the evening routines, and how it is written out with the time, holding accountable, because one of those major goals was to build systems in their life. So you can designate again this tracker for your morning, for your evening, for your work life, which looks different from your personal life. There's a little June purpose checklists that would inspire great habits and activities for this section. And then I want to just kind of shout out to the one on the bottom that's circled. The chores and tasks are paired with a podcast. And so that's that habit stacking that we always say if want to be intentional about something new, maybe pair it with something that's already happening. I'm going to listen to my podcast, but I'm going to do it, when I'm doing my chores. And then the one in the upper middle there, instead of having an activity, it's just called the yay activity, finding that little piece of a joy in your week. Now, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put on some music while you work on this whole first page. Again, feel free to grab a screenshot if you saw something from one of our friends that could inspire something you do. And maybe you saw something, but you're going to incorporate it on the next page. So you, of course, have permission to do that. I wanted to also mention the way you can set up goals to be kind of fun is to sort of do a countdown. So something 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, and once, like the example you see there. And then we've got some other tracker ideas that you can incorporate. So I'll scroll back to the front end of this page and we'll get going on setting this page up. right. Great work. You might still be setting a few of these spaces up, but I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to kind of go over some fun examples for this next page, page 2 of our setup. Katie always says it's like a vinyl album, the B side, and this side gets repurposed a lot. I'm pretty sure the majority of us do something a little different than what's printed on this page. Again, you're welcome to use this just as it's printed, but there's also some great examples of repurposing. Here's two from y'all that I pulled to share with you. I love the stickers for the Mind Body Health Plan. Like there's all the fun things that I can do. And we are big fans of using the shopping space, the shopping list space for the bingos, right? Just like, again, making life a little more fun. You can see the one on the left is using this for food and meal planning. The one on the right is going to track the glimmers for the week there. Of course, I share this slide weekly. These are just a lot of ideas that I've seen you all use, pop into some of these sections on this page. I always say that mind body health is always something a little, like very self-care-ish for me. And it could be fun stuff, but like paint my nails, but it could also be like, make the doctor appointment or take a look at the budget, the things that really do make me feel good. So here is that graphic that I said I would share again. Maybe you're going to grab one of these weekly challenges for one of these spaces this week. We've got the meal plan. Here's a couple of examples of how people have incorporated what they're going to do with their food plan for the week. You can see the one in the middle is actually the Mind Body Health place, right? Space, and their main meal is going there. And then that way they can use their meal plan, those big, lovely little rectangles for something else. And then the one on the right shows, what did you eat? So somewhat of a tracker with everything written down. Okay, let's look at the repurposing here. We've got today's good things. We've got a midday check-in. And look, they are going to check in with their mood, their energy level, and their steps taken. And perhaps this mood check-in helps inform the mood tracker. The one all the way over on the right is checking with that energy level. And then they have used the Mind Body Health Plan as kind of the legend or the rebus. So, if I have a high energy level, I'm putting down a 5. I like that check in with self. We've got a chore list, an appointment list, just a couple of appointment lists there, a reflection space. This is a really good place to do a small reflection. I like to monthly give a shout out to those water droplets. You can use it for your hydration tracking. You can color code them to track what you're drinking, but you could also use it as a energy level check-in on a level, scale of 1 to 8. How are you feeling? This is also a fun way to hold yourself to maybe an hourly check-in on something. And when you check in, you color code that water droplet. There's 8 droplets here. Maybe it becomes something affiliated with your work week and what happens on your work days. Just some great ideas from y'all. And then the Mind Body Health Plan. Again, I call this the selfish space. I really liked this graphic because it talks about being open and not putting yourself into a square. Always be in that growth mindset. Here are some things that could plug into this space, into the menu plan, meal plan, into the shopping list. Here's some great examples from y'all. I love, there's some very pinpointed check-ins. Looks like they're wanting to do these things on a daily basis. So it's a little grid has been drawn there. Maybe you do. Sometimes I just write my stuff down and then I'll draw a line, right? For, on Monday, maybe the thing that I'm doing is at the bottom of the list. I just draw a line and connect the dots that way. A doodle space, shopping list. You can use it as a shopping list, of course, but share how you repurpose if you do. I love to shout out Nathania's, how do I feel and what do I need? And that can be a morning check-in, that can be an evening check-in. Maybe you have two of these spaces and you do your morning, how do I feel, what do I need? And you do an evening, how do I feel, what do I need? Again, doodle, celebrate the wins, bingo over there. You can do anything with a bingo, right? Um, love the what am I watching, what am I consuming? And perhaps a good quote of the week goes here. And then finally, what are you loving? Where are you seeing your purpose this week? I suggested maybe framing it out this month by I am loving myself by. Let me stop talking and put on the music while you work on this page, and I'll go back through these. I don't want to keep you after class. This time always flies by so quickly. I'll go through this last couple of slides. So if you needed to grab a screenshot, you can. And again, this is being recorded as well as like 1,000 other socials that you can access um, on the YouTube channel. And I'm going to go back to that slide real quick for you there. Let's see, where did it go? There we go. There's how we can celebrate our week. We are so glad that you carved out this time to set yourself up for a great week, for being proud of, just be proud of yourself for doing that. When you are intentional with your life, I think you just see it in so many more ways. You embrace our idea of purpose this month when you are purposeful with how you set that up. So thanks for joining us. Be sure to post in Sonder Club so we can share, just how we are doing life, and maybe you'll see your pages here. We do appreciate it. There's our music from today. I will drop the link to that as we close out our time. Thanks for being patient with me. I know I talk too much, but I get so excited to be with you. Thanks again for joining us, Sonder family. Make it a wonderful